What's up everyone? You're welcome once again to David Data channel. On today's video, I'm going to be talking about the differences between OLTP databases and a data warehouse. Alright, so if this is your first time, please I'd like you to hit that like button and the subscribe button and also the notification bell so you're notified once a new video drops in and you don't get to miss out on any of our content. Alright, so what OLTP databases and what is a data warehouse? All right, so in some videos behind, I talked about different things and data warehouse, data lakes, and data mesh. You can check that in the link above and link in the description below as well. OLTP refers to online transactional processing, and it refers to a database that stores data, mostly current data, and that is used for running of applications real time. Right, and your data warehouse is your storage solution that allows you to store both present and historic data from your applications and used by business analysts and data analysts to get insight from your data. Before now, you could it was people who did not have data warehouses or who could not afford to use data warehouse would also use their database for what's it called for business intelligence purposes, right? But today, with the plethora of data warehousing tools and solutions online, cloud data warehousing solution, almost everybody is able to use this data warehousing solution for their business use and needs. And so I'm walking us through some differences between OLTP, which is online transactional processing, and data warehouse, which is typically OLAP, which is online analytical processing, data storage. All right, so for criteria, we have purpose. So for purpose, we say that OLTP database, they execute individual business processes, whereas for data warehouse, they evaluate multiple business processes. In other words, you can just have a database that is used for a particular application, right? But then for a data warehouse, several other applications could, or several data sources or several databases could be storing data into that data warehouse, as it is not peculiar to a particular business process, right? For transaction type, OLTP databases are more of insert, select, update, and delete. So once a new record is come, once a new record or once a new business process or a new business event has happened, there is an update on that database of that OLTP, or inserting a new record, updating an existing record for a user, for example, even deleting such a record. But oftentimes with data warehouse, you just get to do select. You don't really want to insert or update into your data warehouse, right? Since you're just pulling data in there, you just select data from it for analytical processes. For transaction type, OLTP database are predefined, predictable, and stable. In other words, you know what to expect. Whereas for data warehouse data, the transaction type, they are ad hoc style, right? They are unpredictable and volatile. It is based on the needs of the business. When you want to do some aggregation to figure out some stuff about the business, that's when you do stuff around your data warehouse. So they are ad hoc based, right? And then so your database, your OLTP database is optimized for update efficiency and write consistency, because you want to be able to write consistently in your database once a business event happens on your application, and you also want to be able to update efficiently once a business event has been updated. So the thing, so such that let's say I sign up on the app today, the database should be efficient enough to write that information on database, and let's say I make a payment, update that information on the payments table in database. That's sort of a thing, right? And then for data warehouse, it is optimized for query performance and usability. That is why on some several data warehouses like BigQuery, Amazon Redshift, Snowflake, and the rest, you are able to query over terabytes of data in some seconds, right? And then for update frequency, you find that OLTP databases are real time when the business event occurs. In other words, as a business event occurs, it is written or updated on database almost immediately, right? Whereas for data warehouse, depends on the business use case or depends on what you're doing with data. It could be periodic, it could be batch, it could be scheduled, which refers to your ETL, ELT process, where you extract and load data and use it when you want to use it, or streaming data as the case may be, depending on the business use case. Concurrency refers to the ability of the system to write transactions by multiple users at the same time. So for example, let's say the application of a financial institution, several millions of people could be using the same app at the same time, right? So but then once there's an update, the database is able to update all these users, multiple users at the same time, whatever is going on, right? So for update concurrency, OLTP databases is high, whereas for data warehouses, the update concurrency measure is low, right? Because you need to make updates for several people almost at the same time, right? That's the thing, it's not needed, right? Then for historical data access, for OLTP databases, you have current and recent periods, right? Because for historical data, really most times they would have had some changes, sort of a thing. Whereas for data warehouse, you can have current and several years of history stored, as this data doesn't get updated compared to your OLTP database that is usually updated as things happen. And then for selection criteria, OLTP database is precise and is narrow, right? You just select what you want at a particular point in time. And for data warehouses, it is fuzzy and is broad. You can get information for so many things, and this is in line with the query complexity. So query complexity for OLTP databases are quite low. You don't need to write so much deep query, complex data set, right? Complex query rather, right? But for data warehouse, your queries may be complex depending on the business use case, depending on the problem you're trying to solve or the analysis you're trying to get as it goes. And this also makes sense because the tables or joins per transaction are usually few, meaning that so if a user is making an update on the name, you may just have to update the user table, and maybe perhaps the transaction, the table that transaction affects per time, right? So usually updates just affect one or two tables at a particular point in time. Whereas for data warehouses, the updates may include many as much as 10 tables, right, from your data lineage, sort of a thing. All right, so for rows per transaction for databases, they're just in their tens, right? Usually a user will not have more than like few rows really of transactions, right? But then for a data warehouse, like you have millions of rows of transaction per transaction, and then transaction per day for OLTP could be like millions, whereas for data warehouse they would be in thousands or even less. In data volumes, databases are usually around gigabytes and terabytes, whereas for data warehouse you have terabytes and petabytes of data, right? Because they have come from several different sources, right? Raw data sources, streaming data, different application databases, right? And then for your data in your database, they are mainly raw and detailed data, right? This user take this action, that kind of a thing, raw and detailed data at a particular, this user took this action at a particular point in time in this certain location, that sort of a thing. Whereas for your data warehouse, data is usually detailed, but then it's summarized, aggregated, and you also have derived data that you'd have done from your several joins and all that. And for the design technique of OLTP databases, it is usually done using your ERU modeling normalization, right? Usually your third normal form, right? Your entity relationship modeling. And then for your data warehouse, it refers to your dimensional modeling. In other words, data is modeled in your data warehouse using dimensional modeling oftentimes, right? Which is your star schema. There are other modeling methods in data warehouse like one big table, data vault, and the rest. But then usually it's usually dimensional modeling. And the diagram for your data model for your database is around your ER diagram. It's using your ER diagram, and for your data warehouse, it's using your star schema. Alright, so I hope you've been able to get a thing or two out of this video about the differences between OLTP database and data warehouse. Alright, so we'll meet again in the next video. Alright, cheers.